Hello, hello, hello. Hey, stream. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Oh, welcome everyone to the podcast. Sorry, I had to listen to that whole song. I needed a banger to start it off with, and we started off with a banger. Look, you guys are looking at the starting screen right now because we have a very special guest tonight. But I hope you guys are doing well. Nick and Karina, thank you guys so much for the raid to begin. You guys are wonderful as per usual. But hey, we're gonna get started. We're gonna get it kicking. Look, we got a very special guest for you guys tonight. I want you guys all to give a warm welcome, a very warm welcome to the one and only Cookie.
There he is.
There he is. He's right there for you guys.
He's up there.
He's up there.
He's up there.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, I'm a little bit off.
So yeah, welcome guys. It's another Monday. Let's start off the week strong this week as we always do. It's gonna be a good show tonight. Okay, we got a great show in store for you guys. My camera just locked up, so that's cool.
Hey, somebody in chat. Go ahead.
So give me 2 seconds while I work on that. But anyways, yes, we brought Cookie in tonight. It's gonna be a great night. I gotta figure out what's going on here. Birch, take over, please.
We have a great night planned for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, we started it off with Sam's camera getting absolutely yeeted off of the screen, and now I'm up top. I'm now Cookie.
You're up top. Yeah, hey,
I'm now Cookie.
it's great. Yes.
Cookie, you're now Sam.
Hey, there we go.
And now we're back.
All right, cool. Sorry about that, guys.
That was part of the whole skit. That was the skit.
Okay.
Like we were playing musical cameras there. It's pretty
Yes,
good.
we were. Yeah. I just happened to get out first. Anyways,
Sam's ugly mug broke the camera.
yeah. That's RW being.
Well, I mean,
that's
yeah,
RW being jealous as usual. It's fine.
Well, he is now the dubbed heater in chat because he gets chat heated. So he is the heater in chat because him and Tabasco. For people that weren't here last week, it got a little bit ruckusy in chat.
It got a little bit ruckusy.
A little ruckus going on, a little violence, and we like that sometimes.
We like it. We do sometimes.
You know.
Well, look,
Well, I mean,
it's
I'm
Monday,
fine with it all the
guys.
time, so.
We're here. It's gonna be a good time. I really did not do much this weekend. I had a very chill weekend. Neither me or the girlfriend traveled this weekend. We just kind of hung out. We played games. Obviously, you guys were probably around for Saturday's stream where we all played some Destiny, and then we headed over to Gang Beast and had just a wonderful time.
How about that game, by the way?
Yeah, dude, like sneaky little find. I'm so happy that I caught Bobby and them when they played it, and then we decided to play it because it's super fun. If you guys haven't checked out Gang Beast yet, definitely check it out with a good group of friends that you know will just have a blast with it. And obviously, if you haven't seen the clip that I posted yet, I didn't realize that Bobby could actually scream like that. Like, Bobby's typically a very calm, cool, collected person.
Yes.
And that scream actually had me on the floor. Like, I don't know how I stayed in my chair. Like, I feel like if I didn't have an L desk, I probably would have fell out of my chair.
Beth is saying it's free on Game Pass at the moment. I know it is 55% off in Steam because we did it.
It's like $9 on Steam right now, maybe 8. Like
I know. Just with that and like kind of like talking and stuff like that, my abs hurted from the first night we played it on Friday night. It did not get any better on Saturday night because it was just.
Yeah, we played it off stream Friday night, and then we all decided we wanted to include you guys, because obviously, I mean, it was a hell of a time.
Huge.
Anyways, so yeah, I mean, I didn't do much. Verge is on vacation this week, guys. So if y'all want to bug him. He's got absolutely nothing going on. He keeps texting me during the day. He actually won't leave me alone. It's kind of obnoxious, actually.
It was bad today.
But no, Verge is on vacation. He deserves it. We're glad he gets a week off of the chaos. So he's here. He's ready to go. He's got a lot more energy than me because I'm busy as fuck at work right now. But yeah, look, we're here. Cookie is our guest, so we're gonna turn this around. We're gonna pretty much, this is an interrogation. We're gonna strap Cookie into the seat. and we're gonna get every single piece of information that he has in that brain of his. Okay, like that's the plan tonight. So, no, but
Bro.
Cookie,
Bro.
thank you so much. What?
Hard up. I got your number now, brother.
Oh, okay.
He is mischievous.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
you're
just letting
good.
him know.
Cookie, welcome, brother. We're so glad to have you on. Guys, if you don't know, obviously, me and Verge have been part of Aspire Gaming for a while now. We have the pleasure of welcoming Cookie in. He's been in it a couple months now?
Probably maybe about a month.
Maybe about a month? Okay.
About a month.
So Cookie has joined Aspire with us. With us. Jesus, I took like a deep exhale when I said that. So, anyways, I'm old. I'm out of shape. Leave me alone. So Cookie's been here for about a month now. It's been a fantastic time. Obviously, you guys have seen him a lot more on streams and stuff. Even though we gamed with him, before that because we absolutely love Cookie. But he has been. He's been showing up in a lot of the Destiny streams. We know he loves Destiny. He loves space stuff. A lot of the stuff we'll talk about tonight is going to be about Star Wars because all three of us are huge Star Wars fans, as most of you guys know. So we're going to get into that. I haven't really caught up on Bad Batch yet, so it's going to be a lot of Virgin Cookie discussing Bad Batch if we go through Bad Batch. Hashtag spoiler alert, by the way. If you have not caught up on Bad Batch, some stuff may get spoiled for you tonight. If you're concerned, then we'll give you a warning before we get into it, and you guys can either mute the stream or leave. If you're not concerned, because it's not one of the massive storylines in the in the series yet. I'm sure it's getting there. There's a lot of stuff that I've seen, even though I haven't seen the whole first season yet, that's kind of huge if you pay attention to the stuff. Other than that, we're going to get to know Cookie a little bit better. We're going to hear his story, hear his thoughts on certain things, and we're going to go from there. So Cookie, to start, I don't actually know.
Off to a great start already.
Yeah, off to a great start. Look, this is what we told you guys we told you not to be worried about it, okay? Because me and Verge don't really know what we're doing half the time anyways, so. No, but why?
I mean, all the time for me.
Well, yeah, subpar gamers. We get that. So why don't you? I think what we normally do when we have a guest on for the first time, we kind of get started with like your gaming experience. Like what kind of got you to this point? Do you remember kind of that game that kind of turned it on for you? Like really got you? Like kind of played that game, because I'm sure everybody kind of dabbles in games, right? When you're younger, you're a kid, they're fun, they're cool, but then you have that kind of one game that really kind of sets aside for the rest, and kind of just it really draws you in. Like, okay, I think I could game a lot more and have a lot more fun with some of these games now that like this has kind of opened my mind up a little bit. So, I mean, do you remember that game at all?
I do actually. First off, before I start, appreciate y'all having me on here. It means a lot, and I'm really looking forward to tonight. So when I was a bit younger, my old man would take me to a lot of these computer shows that they had at the local college campus. And while we were there was one game I saw. It was called Battlefield 2. Actually, my dad's the one that handed it to me. He's like, "Hey, what do you think about this one?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not? It looks interesting." So, when I first installed it, it's like the first PC game that I played, had no idea what I was doing, didn't have a mic or anything. Actually didn't even understand the concept of downloading and installing patches. So when I first started up, there's like maybe 2 or 3 servers, and I'm just like, well, this is kind of boring. And then we looked it up, and it's like, oh, you can actually update these games. Go figure. So we did that, and all these servers started popping up with all these people, and that's really what got me into like online gaming for the first time, and then slowly interacting with people, like not via voice, mostly just via chat, and eventually that spread to the other games like Battlefield 2142, and then ended up getting the entire old school collection with 1942 and all that. Now let me tell you, nothing beats a classic like 1942 where it's like, all right, I see that aircraft carrier, I'm gonna take that aircraft carrier, I'm gonna drive it, and hope I don't beat it at the same time.
Yes.
Plot twist: I beat shit every time. I can't steer ships to save my life.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's,
no boating. Don't bring me with you.
I
Or at
think
least don't
that's-
ask me to steer. It's a bad day.
yeah, I think that's like, well, that's one of the like best but hardest mechanics to learn about the Battlefield games is flying stuff. I have a friend that to this day he's still one of the best like helicopter pilots. Me and him used to run, you know, Battlefield back in the day, and Battlefield 3 and 4. Like he was the pilot and I was the gunner. Like I could not pilot for shit. Like I could go in a straight line, sure, not a big deal, but like I'm telling you, this man was making figure eights and just doing everything he possibly could to keep us as like I used to have like 100 kill games because it was just like we would just be in that thing for so long because nobody could take us down. So I feel that 100%. I feel that.
hmm The first game I like, aside from that though, like when you mentioned like we all had like games we had fun playing as a kid. For me, that one was probably Star Fox 64, and especially when I discovered that there was apparently a challenge mode, it just turned into trying to beat my high score
All the
every
time. Yep.
I lost, and especially when they brought that back in the 3DS, like. Still remember on our way heading out for deployment, I had it on my 3DS and I was just playing that the whole ride, or at least however long my battery would last.
Yeah.
Just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Have you picked that up lately and messed with that lately with like, you know, games, or ever thought about like doing that now? Like, you know, enjoy something on your streams that, you know, because I remember playing the game, but a lot of other people like having challenges like that. Like, have you ever thought about like revisiting it? Or do you?
Sometimes I've thought about it, like with Mega Man, right? So like, most of y'all probably caught the one Mega Man stream that I did where I was just playing through some of those classics and trying to remember which boss I'm supposed to fight first, because you know my smart individual self decided to throw myself into the hardest boss fight right off the bat. I'm like, something's wrong here. But yeah, I think like there's sometimes I think about it, but then like I don't know. I guess as I got older, like just trying to sit there and just play through a game and trying to do that for like extended period of time, just I don't know. I think it just didn't really cut it for me anymore, or maybe I just don't have that big of an attention span for it.
Right.
But
No,
if
that's-
something like that did come up or something like that, I might dabble in that again sometime.
Right. Yeah, I know that's definitely like a part of like revisiting games for me. I don't feel like I have the same attention span that I used to. Like, and I think a lot of it has to do, like, you've probably played it just so many times, you know. Like for me, I know I have what's like, because like the port was awful, so I recently tried to go back a while back for a charity stream. I did go back and play the first two Soul Reaver games, and the ports were awful. Like nothing synced up. Like I tried controller, I tried mouse and keyboard, like nothing synced up. But I like, even when the parts that I did kind of do, like right off the bat, I was just like, man, it's just not the same feeling as it used to be, you know. Like it's just, I think I've played that game just so many times, it's like it'll still always hold that special part like in me, and it's always going to be probably my like two of my top 5 favorite games of all time, because those are kind of the games that like did it for me, like kind of brought me into this competitively. It was the original like Battlefields and Call of Duties, but like, or I mean Halo, actually Halo 2 was the competitive scene for me, but like just like solo grind, like, you know, solo games. Soul Reaver was the first one that I think it just in my memory that I think I ever actually completed without looking up cheat codes or anything. Like I was just in it, you know, and it still holds that place, and I still have that incredible memory, but it didn't feel the same anymore, right? I'm not that little kid anymore that is like, you know, just playing games to play games, and then you finally find that game and you're like, oh my god, like you want to you know, you're young enough, like you want to tell your parents about it, like, oh, even though they don't understand, you know. So it's that was the game for me for sure. I think Verge said his was Pong, so that was the first game.
Yes, it was. It's great.
Solid choice.
Hey, y'all missed out on the freaking golden age of video games, man. That would be the same. Like,
I mean, heck, I was so surprised to see my
I'll
mom.
put Pong back on.
The only video game I think I've ever seen my mom like play, and like she can surprisingly kick my ass any day at it, was Pac-Man.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. She's the only person out of my family that just knows the strats.
Dude, it's
of what's to do.
yeah, right. Like my sister's that way with Tetris. Like I don't understand Tetris. Now, to be fair, my sister is 1,000 times smarter than I am. Master's degree in civil engineering from A&M. Like 1,000 times smarter than me. But like when she used to play Tetris, I'd be like, that's easy. I can do that. And then I'd sit there for like 2 seconds and like immediately lose a level, and I'm just like, fuck. Like, how do you do this? You know, like, yeah, it's crazy that they have like those games. It's just like, you know, we play Uno, you know, on the computer now. You know, I remember as a kid, I used to go over to like my grandparents' house, and the two big games we'd always play with my grandparents were Uno and Chinese checkers. And my grandma was the best Uno and Chinese checkers player, I think, in the entire world. Like, it didn't matter how good you thought you were. She could always, like, you could see it when it was about to happen. Like, you could just see it in her eyes, and you knew, like, fuck, she's about to really screw me over here and beat my and I'm like, you know, this little old 70-year-old lady sitting here with Uno cards or Chinese checkers, and you're just like, fuck, like this, it's about to go down, like it's about to happen. So yeah, no, and it's funny, I made the joke, obviously I like to give Verge shit,
Yes.
you know, I know, but we all know that Verge loves Chrono Trigger. We saw it on his charity stream that one time. And you know, so games like that, I think they just kind of.
And when I did that, like kind of like going off of like what you said, I didn't feel like I was
it's just not the same
I
feeling.
guess it's just that type of game. I was so locked in on it again. Like I was just like, and I guess I haven't played it in so long.
Right.
And it was for a special reason. We were having fun. It just was different. Chrono Trigger's just like bombs. So, I mean.
So it's just like, but you know, to kind of feed off that point and that joke, like there's a big thing going around on Instagram this last week where it was, you know, choose, like start with, it had like pretty much every console ever made, like every gaming console ever made on a chart, and it said, you know, basically they were all based, like it had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like it all went by numbers. And it said start with the one that you started with, and then, you know, name all the numbers in between to the last one you found. And it's funny, like, because this group chat I have with all my friends from my childhood that I've known for 20 plus years, none of them really ever kept up with gaming. I'm the only guy like in that group that's kind of just continued to do to really like get into video games and really, you know, go get into it, and then obviously start streaming and stuff. And it's funny because like most of them ended on either like Xbox 360 or like the PS3, you know, and I'm sitting here like, well, I had that one and that one and that one and that one. And like I've pretty much had them all. And it was funny that we all kind of because we only had one friend, and I was really pissed that I never had this console because I tried to get it so many times for Christmas. But there's one console on there, and I hope a lot of you guys out there agree, but it was probably the most underrated console of all time, and it's Sega Dreamcast. I had one friend, and he's in this group, and we all were like, bro, you remember going to fucking Trey's and playing Sega Dreamcast? Because nobody else in the group, like, you're talking like 20 people that are in this group still that I've known since like elementary school, and literally one person had the Sega Dreamcast, and we used to all go over there and play it all the time because he was the only person to have it. And to this day, it's like, what I think it's the most underrated console of all time. Like, honestly, it's just, it was so good. Like, anyways. So that's kind of what got you started. What made you, Cookie, what kind of gave you the, you know, the urge to kind of start the whole streaming adventure with video games and stuff?
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
Right on the point.
Yep.
Okay. I was like, oh damn, hit me with that curveball. So a lot of my friends had been streaming for a while, and you know, like I never really ever really considered streaming myself for start, but like just game with them and hearing their interactions type deal. Plus for me, like when I started gaming, it was all like a lot of my friends, like I think my first Call of Duty clan I was probably one of two Americans in that one. The rest were like Dutch, Swedish, and Brits.
Nice.
So you could already imagine the time difference from there. So like waking up at like 5 in the morning to game with them and everything.
Yeah.
And I think just I just seen like some of the communities that some of the people I know, like what they've built, like the interactions they've had, just all like the memories and everything. And you know, I was really nervous at first, and then a couple of my friends, you know, like Cassie and all that, and they're like, "Hey, you should." Like, you know, even Burge is like, when are you gonna start streaming? When are you gonna get into this? And I'm just like, I don't know if I got the personality for it. And well, you know, fast forward to now, it's like, oh well,
here we
apparently I'm doing something right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just it takes that little bit of, it's always kind of nerve wracking. I remember when I first started, I didn't know what the hell. I went back, I kind of purged my my Twitch channel, not like halfway, like I don't know, probably 2 years ago. I kind of purged my Twitch channel, and I came up with the Samurai Sam instead. And before that, I was the Ham Sandwich. By the Ham Sandwich is what my original Twitch name was. But I remember, like, before I moved over to this name, and I kind of purged everything. Like, I remember going through those videos, and I think I still have the original, like the first 2 or 3 streams that I did, like on Twitch, saved to this computer to this day, because it's just like, it's incredible. It's incredible to like go back and look and see kind of how far along, like, in the changes that you've made. I remember that, like, I go back and I watch those videos all the time. Like, I barely talked. Like, I think the first game I ever streamed, it was a single player game. I think it was like Ghost Recon, I think, or something. I don't remember. And it was a Tom Clancy game for sure. And that was like one of the first ones I ever fucking streamed. And I literally didn't say anything almost the entire stream. Like, I think I had like my buddy that I played a lot of games with at the time. I think he was probably the only viewer in there, and he wasn't able to play that night. He was sitting at work on his phone watching me on Twitch, and he'd chime in every once in a while when he could at work. And it was just like, that would be the only time I talked. And now, like, I learned a big lesson from one of the big streamers that I follow that kind of gave me advice early on, and it was, you know, talk to yourself. Just learn how to be comfortable with talking to yourself, because you never know who's watching, right? And that transition, and from that point to where I only talked when people chatted with me in chat, to this point to where I can be on a podcast and I can talk for hours. Like, I could do this all day now, right? Like, that transition and that, like, that upgrade, I guess. I can't find the words. You know, I say that I can talk on camera all day, but I can't actually find the words. But anyways, you know, that steady uphill battle to get to that point, and know, and like, even to this day, I'll have times where I'm just kind of like, I don't feel like talking today. I'm sorry, guys. Like, but you know, it's that steady challenge, and it's like one of the hardest things to overcome when you're first starting out streaming. And it's incredible now, because I see, you know, obviously we play games together, like all 3 of us play games together, and it's just like, it's just awesome to see it like happen, you know, like everybody's kind of grown into their own. Like, Verge has his own personality, obviously, with the Subpar Gaming. You have your own personality. I love when you put on, you know, your helmets and stuff like that, and everything that you do. And like that night, the other night, when you absolutely fucking lost your shit. Like,
oh, in Prophecy?
Yeah, in Prophecy.
Oh, dude, it was
that
wonderful.
Was probably like, that was one of the best moments, man, I've had in Prophecy in a long time.
We will be seeing a clip of that one day. Eventually.
Someday, yes, but
it'll make its way out.
Yeah, and it was just so good. So, like, to see that and to be able to, and that, I think that's kind of what gaming and streaming does for a lot of people. It brings you out of your shell, right? Like, you were this quiet, calm, like, person that didn't really talk a lot. Like, I mean, I'm talking about myself. Like, I was this quiet kid that wasn't used to talking to a lot of people, like, unless I was in person, you know, or if I was in a big game chat with people and gaming and stuff like that. And now I'm here where I can either talk to myself, or I can completely be myself around, like, you guys or anybody that I game with. You know, I'm not afraid to be myself anymore. And so I think that's great, right? And obviously you guys have seen it. Shut up, Arda. And obviously we're so excited to have you in Aspire be a part of the same team as us.
Heck yeah.
Obviously, you streaming now is just makes it that much better. If you guys didn't know, Cookie is the one handling our he handles the Aspire Twitter as well. So that fight earlier between him and the Mashup Podcast, we'll never reveal who actually controls the Mashup Podcast Twitter. But I'm sure you guys can guess. And so you can blame him. You can blame Cookie for starting that earlier. Okay.
Whoa, hold
anyways.
up. All was said, as I said on there, all was fine until you decided to come in and start throwing hands. And I'm just like, all right. Like, I was just like, hey, this is what's happening. You're like, oh, we fighting? I'm like, all right. You want to go? Let's go there.
I'm not gonna lie. That fucking Patrick fight me gif is one of my like, I can't, like, I stumbled upon it one day. Yeah. And I use it any chance I get now. Like if it's one of those situations like it was today, like I just use it every time. Like I don't even care.
Library? Do you save your gifts?
No, I just, for most of them I know what to search for now. But most of the time, because I know you've asked me this before too, Verge, about like where I find my gifts and stuff. And honestly, it's just the way my brain works. Like I'll just search for the dumbest shit ever. Like there's multiple gifts in there. And I don't like admitting this out loud, but I'll literally just search anal. And it's some of the dumbest stuff you'll ever see in your life. And I absolutely love it. Like, I can't get enough of it. Like, that's just how my brain works. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not, again, streaming has opened me up to you guys. And this is what you guys get the full me now. Okay. Anyways, so that being said, I know a lot of you guys out there know this. And we're only going to touch a little bit on this because I don't want to get like too heavy in it. And you know, I asked Cookie beforehand, wanted to kind of talk to him about this a little bit. Obviously not as much. I'm not going to make him, you know, go into this too much. But if you guys didn't know, Cook did serve in the military, and we thank him for his service. You know, it's a huge thing. I know to a lot of us out there. Obviously, a lot of people Inspire knew Cookie from doing that. So you know, just give us like the basic rundown, you know, because I know you said you didn't want to talk about it too much. So just, you know, what you did or how much time you served, anything like that, whatever you want to give us, you know, give us that, and then we'll move forward.
Okay. So served in the Air Force for about 6.5 years total, and then got one deployment under my belt. Actually deployed with Cassie for my first and only one, which was pretty much how we met. And then we just stayed in touch over the years. Did surveillance first, so a lot of that was just like, oh, hey, there's a bunch of dots on the screen. Look up their IFF and then just start putting labels on them left and right.
Yeah.
But then I got to do the fun part later on, which was the weapons side, where I went from just putting you know, playing with dots on the screen, actually talking to pilots and telling them pretty much where to go. It's like, oh, you gotta go drop bombs, go here. You gotta get gas, go here. You want to go home? Too bad, can't do it yet. But here's where you go.
Yeah, here's where you go.
Where you got some Yahoo going like, oh, hey, you know, can I have this altitude? And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, no, you're a UAV. You don't need that much altitude. What are you thinking?
What are you thinking?
So I did that for a while, and then some stuff went down like medically, and then had to basically get my qualification again. So that was a fun year.
Yeah.
But during that time, a lot of it was just me working on like the equipment, and then they're like one day, hey, you're really good at building simulations, so we want you to stay in charge of that and train other sim drivers, which for weapon side sim drivers, we went from like talking to the pilot to basically being the pilot.
Right.
So like when you heard me the other day when we were doing like I was like sandwich 1, 2, 3 type deal and all the whole check-in stuff. Did that for pretty much the last year of my enlistment, and just building all sorts of scenarios to where I think there was one time they're like, hey, can you build us like a no-win scenario? And I'm like, you want Red Dawn or like Kobayashi Maru, which was a no-win scenario from Star Trek. And I was like, I could build you a Kobayashi, but you're going to hate me for it.
You're going to hate me for it.
I think it's still on the system. I'll have to ask one of my guys that's still there. But yeah, that's pretty much what I did. And then I got out, and now I'm just using my GI Bill. I got 1 year left in school, and all goes well. By this time next year, I'll have my bachelor's in IT with a cybersecurity focus.
Awesome, bro. Yes, you're absolutely killing it at school. I love your tweets about it all the time because it keeps us updated, and You're killing it, man. You got one left.
Can you kind of, and I know you've tweeted about it, but one of the cool projects I know you've shared with me, with some coding and stuff. You want to highlight on that a little bit and what that experience has been like for you, as far as like, not so much just exactly what goes into it. It's just, I think the one conversation we had is the appreciation and understanding, like more so on the gaming side, like, wow, no wonder ship breaks. Like, you know, so if you want to share that, I don't know. I mean, if you want to or not, because I really found that an intriguing story of what you were doing.
So like when it came to the coding class, so I had like no programming experience whatsoever prior. So they're like, hey, here's all this information, build something out of this. And I'm like, okay. And so like one of the ones I did was like so it's a while loop, right? And basically what that's translating to is like, okay, like while this is equals this is going to happen, and then if this is not the case, then this is what happens. So I used Trials of Osiris as my first example. So like if user fire team is equal to 3, put loading encounter to output, and if less than 3, put fire team does not meet requirements to output, and basically just letting the program run that. Very, very basic stuff, but all the stuff that goes into that and everything for a larger scale, especially in like game development, like I kind of got more of an appreciation for like Bungie or, you know, all these other platforms that have to push out these updates or hot fixes. And I'm just like, dude, I have enough trouble just looking through like one page of pseudocode. Like I can't imagine just all this stuff going in. And I think there was one question. Actually, there was 2 questions I missed. One was.
We'll get it at the end.
Oh,
yeah,
we'll get it at
the end. Yeah, you have a Q&A grilling session at the end. Sorry, we forgot. I don't know if we told you about that part.
It's all right. My body is ready. Or correction, the spirit is willing, but the body is not.
It's the masses just right there right now. So
yeah,
gotcha. But yeah, that's and I found out today. I was like, okay, I'm done with coding. I don't gotta do any more programming stuff. And it turns out, not this coming up term, but the following one, I have another programming class, which this one was a prerequisite for. And I'm just like, no! Here we go again. Especially around the time Witch Queen comes out. I'm like, really? Thanks.
Is that where you want to take that degree? Do you want to take it into like game development stuff, or is there something else you're trying to do with it? Do you know yet?
Honestly, I have no clue.
That's fair.
What I necessarily want to do with. I know like once what actually got me into IT stuff more was just all like the sim driving programs, right. And we worked with this one. So we had one system that we used, and then we had another one where it's like, hey, all you have to do is put all the planes in. You can set what direction they go to and what time, and literally all you have to do is hit play. And the scenario just does that. It's very hands off. You don't have to do anything afterwards, unless some Yahoo decides to fly over the Arabian Gulf off his his path, and it's like, well, I got to turn you around.
Yeah.
But that's really what got me into like wanting to work with computers and technology. And originally, I started out as a business major, but I kind of fell out of that mindset because I was like, look, I'm not trying to go into an entrepreneurship. I'm not trying to just start my own thing or go into anything like that, but I just like being able to work with tech. And then I'll probably figure out more what I want to do over time, whether it's focusing solely on IT or if I want to focus more on like network security and all that.
A lot of opportunities in it. It's a growing field. Like, I think I look back on things when I was in college and stuff. Like, I enjoy what I do, but at the time that was right around like 2000 and stuff like that. Like, you're right.
Yeah, I'm good.
This is what I deal with, guys.
Continue.
So it was just like cashing in on that and doing something, because again, I liked it. It just wasn't like really like as well known as it is now. Like, it's very interesting to see like what Cookie does and
right.
stuff like that with some of the things that he's been sharing with me. It's just like, God, I remember freaking programming AOL kickbots, on freaking VB. Like, whoops.
Yeah, Jess, you're a baby. We get it. let me ask you about this. Was both of y'all's fields, was that what y'all started with? Did you go into college knowing that this is what you wanted to do?
For like after I separated, or
Yeah.
surprisingly, no. Even when I got out, like I was pretty much just like basically a little lost puppy dog. Like I was
Yeah.
like, I really like the whole like TikTok video where it's like it's time for a new adventure. Like literally, I'm kind of just like, I have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah.
Like I'm just driving cross country, settling down here, and like just, I didn't really know. And then I had a serious talk with my sister, and she's like, well, you really like working computers and all that, so why don't you try to go for something like that? And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? That's just ironic, because pretty much like my old man and I, like what we bonded over a lot was going to computer shows. He was
Right.
showing me all this stuff. So I was like, well, I guess, let's see how this goes. And I've loved every minute of it so far, despite all my gripes and complaints about programming.
Yeah. Urge?
I mean, yeah, I kind of figured I wanted to be around sports, but I know I didn't have the skill set to move on with some of the things, so we wanted to always help people out, and yeah,
Fatal.
that's just, ouch, 88.
That's fatal. Just hey. No dog. My neighbor's out and he can see out the window. You can see his tail right now. He's happy, but he's growling.
Is that a growling?
Happy grouse.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I think I went between business, psychology, back to business, to English. Stuck with English for almost 2 years, and then went back to business. So I had absolutely no idea.
It's okay.
2029
Like, I mean, like nowadays, like it's just so like back. It felt like when I went to school, it was like you pick it and you stick with it, and it was kind of like the culture was starting to change, but that was
Right.
just like kind of like the mindset, like you. This is what you're gonna do. You go there to pay the
Yeah.
money, and that's what you're gonna do. You don't want to disappoint anybody. Looking back on it now, just know out there, like Cookie said, and like said, you're allowed to have any freaking choices that you want to do.
Yeah.
If you go in and
I
start
don't-
and you
I
want to
don't-
switch something
yeah.
up, switch it. Like,
English, you still can't. You still apparently can't. Yeah, no, that's fair. I was
he
actually
is
it's.
freaking.
But no, he's not wrong. Like I have been,
No,
I
I know.
have been so bad at
Spicy.
Twitter lately at my like spelling errors and stuff, which is funny because yes, I was. I always wanted to. It was funny because growing up, even though I had video games and stuff, and I had sports and everything like that, I knew that was highly unlikely that a 5'10", 200-pound safety was ever going to make it anywhere, past the high school level, and then obviously I got hurt. So that kind of ruined everything. But I always had English. I was always honors English. I was only I had honors English and history, I think, in high school. And then college, I was the same way. I was always like creative writing and stuff. Like I always wanted to write, right? And I kind of do it a little bit here and there. From time to time now, but like I've lost a big thing. So like that's why I thought English, and I also like the psychology part of it too. Was just like I liked because with like to me English and psychology are very similar because you get inside people's brains either way, right? Like you get to see. And that's what's always like been an incredible thing to me. I wanted psychology because I wanted to really understand people more and get inside their heads and talk to them about their issues, help them out with those issues. I think that's why I do a lot of the charity work, obviously, that we do now. But English for me was different. It kind of let me kind of open up a little bit more, kind of be a little bit more creative in a sense. And it was always like super fun for me. And it's funny because like I'm really bad at typing on Twitter, but at work, like I have to write countless amounts of statements of work for work now in the IT industry, and people get pissed all the time because we'll have partners that like sometimes write them for us because we'll contract basically a partner, one of our partners for our business to do the work for us. And when they send us house, I'll send it. I'll 9 times out of 10, I end up sending it back to them, and I'm like, look, you guys need to be able to, like type correctly if you're gonna send me a statement of work. And they hate it. They hate it because I'm always like picking out here there, and I think that's why I get so upset by the fact that when I mess up on Twitter. But again, it's Twitter. Anyways, so that being said, I think we'll kind of move into, you know, some different stuff here. Where do we want to start with this? I mean, look, there's not a lot of big news in COD this week, guys, so we're not going to really touch on COD. Plus, we have Cookie here, so we want to focus a lot more on him than anything. COD, obviously, Seattle Surge announced the roster today. You got a couple no names, and you got a couple of guys that came from different teams. Duke, Jesus, bro.
Dude, his tail is flying right now.
Can you
bro.
hear him growling?
A little bit every once in a while, but I'm
Holy.
just watching his tail in your cam feed right now. It has gotten faster and faster. Look at how fast it's
Well,
going.
because she's like our neighbors, like she's this way, and she's her fence is right there. We just have a chain link fence, so like she's literally probably out watering her yard or something right now, or her plants or something, and she's literally just walking back and forth. So every time she walks closer to the window, that's when the tail goes crazy.
Oh, you can see it's like right now it's like straight pointing up, and then all of a sudden it just goes like it was just like brrr,
Yeah.
like wow.
Well, she gets, and it's funny because she gets scared because he tries to like, he acts like he's gonna jump over the fence. I don't think he would know what to do if he jumped over the fence. Like, he acts big and tough because he's a cattle dog. Cattle dogs are very territorial. If you've never owned a cattle dog, nicest dogs in the world, like Duke, would literally not hurt you if he got on the other side of the fence. But obviously, when he's on our side of the fence, it gets a little crazy, and I get why she's a little scared of him. But I'm like, look, he's literally, if he got over that fence and you talk to him, he'd probably just lick you to death, right? It's just because he thinks he's tough because he's on this side. It's like keyboard warriors, you know, on the internet. You know, he thinks he's tough because he's over here, but once he gets over there, I guarantee you he's going to be more scared of you than you are of him. Anyways, that being said, nothing really in the CDL league. I think everybody at this point is kind of waiting to see what Optic's going to do for the year. Obviously we haven't heard, but knowing Hex, it'll be like a last second call.
It's the list.
Especially since it got quote unquote leaked. Whatever he's doing in the background, it'll probably be last second now, because every time something gets leaked, this is what he does. He waits now. Like, he makes us wait longer because he's like, I don't appreciate you guys leaking this stuff, so I'm gonna make you wait even longer. So nothing really in the CDL. Packers Lions are playing tonight. Hopefully the Packers.
Oh yeah, that game's on now, isn't it?
Yeah. Dude, no.
Good.
So Packers Lions obviously tonight. NFL's been a little bit crazy through the first 2 weeks. We've seen a lot of crazy stuff. Obviously, we're hoping that the Packers return to their typical offense, and Aaron Rodgers looks better tonight than he did. I think he had the worst QBR rating of his career last week. So we'll see what happens tonight with the Packers offense. I really need DeAndre Swift, the running back or Deontay Swift maybe for the running back for the Lions. I really need him to go off so I can win in the league I'm in with Diesel, because I fell behind somehow. Anyways.
That happened too, by chance. Go ahead. Anyways, that being said, we're gonna move on, guys. Obviously we're all three of us are huge Star Wars fans, so we're gonna talk a lot about that tonight, because we wanted to kind of
no idea what you're talking about.
No, I don't either.
He was just talking about Star Trek and the Kubiyashi
I don't either.
scenarios and stuff like that, so I think it's all a front.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like Star Wars either. And Verge used to have all his stuff displayed behind him, but he moved.
Yeah, we're gonna work on getting that.
Yeah, he's working on it for us, guys. Anyways, so we're gonna move on to Star Wars. I think the first thing I want to get to, because I know you guys want to talk a little bit about Bad Batch. Obviously, we talked about Bad Batch off scene. I haven't fully caught up on Bad Batch, so I'm gonna let them talk about that more. But first, obviously, I know Cookie and I know Verge are super excited. But guys, if you guys didn't hear the news, they're remaking Knights of the Old Republic. Okay,
yes.
Which is going to be absolutely fucking phenomenal. Like, I just don't touch the game in my mind. Just upgrade the graphics, be done with it. Like, don't touch any of the mechanics. I know a lot of people don't agree with that style of gameplay anymore, but I absolutely like KOTOR is phenomenal for me. It's like KOTOR 2, I think I liked a little bit more than KOTOR. just because I think I was at the right age when that game came out to really enjoy it. But like I'll always have a soft spot for that, for obviously the original. So I'm super excited to get that back in my hands, really get to play that in high def, in updated graphics, like everything. Oh god, so excited. I texted Verge this morning. That being said, I text Verge an article this morning. So it was kind of leaked. It's a rumor right now. We haven't had official confirmation, but Quantic Dream, the developer that was behind Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human, which if you haven't played Detroit Become Human, oh my fucking god, absolutely incredible game. They are rumored to be in development with a new Star Wars game, which that will be, I can only imagine if they do it the same way they've done Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human as a single player game. Like, I don't even like, give me it now. I don't care. Just give me it. So it's good for the Star Wars universe because we have a lot of rumored games right now that are in development for Star Wars universe. And I think that opens up so much more and that's why I opened up with KOTOR, because KOTOR and games like that really opened up the Star Wars universe. Like, obviously before that we just had the original trilogy, and then we obviously eventually got like the prequel. You had books, but not a lot of people knew about the books. But games like KOTOR and stuff, because video gaming, when those games came out, started to become such a big topic, opened up that Star Wars universe. You started to realize there's a lot more that George Lucas had written out and had in his mind for this universe than just Luke Skywalker, which is absolutely incredible.
And we have been waiting since like that time to really get, with all the technology out there and all, like literally, like think of it, in some video games you were living in a movie. You're like being the action hero. You're like being that person. For Star Wars fans, there would be nothing greater to be part of, like almost them adapting. Like, this is, I mean, again, when you say this is canon, you're actually playing something. Fallen Order became canon. Like, that's part of the story now. Like, so
Fallen Order was absolutely incredible. If you guys haven't played it, like that, again, that's one of those games. Yeah.
So it's like, we want something like an MMO, like, something big where it is, gear, loot, like story, everything. Boom.
And I think that's the beautiful thing. Yeah, and I think that's the beautiful thing about these Star Wars games, because like what Verge was saying, like that's one of the biggest things for fans. What's the one thing every Star Wars fan wants? They want a lightsaber in their hands. So what better than giving me a game to where I can wield a lightsaber, And even if not that, like maybe you're a bigger Han Solo fan or a Chewie fan than anything, right? Like, you have that opportunity to become those characters and really feel that, and it just opens up a whole new world, not only storytelling wise, but it really gives you that opportunity to get that full feel. Like, I remember wielding a lightsaber in KOTOR for the first time. It felt phenomenal. But then now, the newest game, and then you had what was it, the Force Unleashed games? Like, those were incredible. Those were so fun.
Those are really good.
And then and now you have Fallen Order, where you
Fallen Order, it just shows you the direction that they're taking with it, and I think it just gives you hope that, like, they're getting more to that merge between cinema and video games, and making it, because like a lot of Fallen Order was like, movie type feeling. Like, I'm part of that actual story. Like, I'm not watching it on a screen right now. I'm actually living it and playing it and being a vital role in it. And even now, there was talks even with Bad Batch, like, are we gonna see him in it? Right. Like, they're
because the timelines are starting to match up with so many of these stories.
Well, that they're there. You're gonna see a younger iteration of that, his master, and everything else like that. Like, you're trying not to spoil too much, but just if you haven't seen it, but.
And I think that was what was so great about Fallen Order. The Fallen Order for me was the first time playing a Star Wars game where it felt like a movie, like the storytelling, the score of the video game felt like a Star Wars score. Like, it just felt incredible. Like, everything in it, like the landscape, the characters, everything. It made like I felt like I was watching a movie, but I was not even. I felt like I was the main character in a Star Wars film, and that was the most incredible experience for me. So I think like the future for Star Wars is set up greatly if they continue to produce these high level games. Not obviously not everything's gonna fucking hit, right? Like we all know that there's games that don't always hit, but that's fine. Like if I get a good story out of it, I'm okay with that. If the gameplay's terrible, that's fine. But give me more of this Star Wars universe that isn't Luke Skywalker. Like give me that. Like yeah, you could be in the same timeline. Like obviously we all absolutely fucking love Mandalorian. Like it's probably one of the best things we've seen in the Star Wars universe in a long time. Like you saw it with Rogue One too. Like it's in that same story, like that same timeline, which is great, but you're not focused on Luke Skywalker anymore. You're not focused on the Skywalker saga anymore. It's a different story within that timeline, and I think that's what fans have been waiting so long for. Like everybody obviously loves the Skywalker saga. It's one of the most incredible stories ever told in cinema history. But the fact that there's so much more out there, it's just like, that's why I think that's obviously why a lot of us, including the three of us, are drawn to Destiny so much. There's just so much lore behind it. There's so many different stories that we've been brought into in the Destiny universe that it makes it feel like very similar to what they did with Star Wars. And again, with these games and even with the movies, like, and we've seen it in Destiny, not everything hits, and that's okay. But like even when Destiny has had bad content, like gameplay wise, the lore has still been there, and it's still been interesting. It's been interesting because Bungie, and we saw it with the old Halo games, like Bungie is incredible at storytelling. Like some of the Halo games were awful. Like ODST, hated it. Absolutely fucking hated it. Right? But it was still a good story. Like the storytelling was so good. So, and I think we're starting to feel that with the Star Wars universe, which is in my mind absolutely incredible. I know we haven't heard much about it yet, but obviously we are going to get a new trilogy fresh out of the Skywalker saga. It's going to be something new, completely different, a story somewhere. We've heard rumors about it. We don't know anything about it yet. We just know that we're kind of finally past that phase. That being said, obviously Disney is trying to replicate what they've done with the Marvel movies and really go in a direction of pulling us in a billion different directions to connect everything, which is great. We see it with the Mandalorian. We're getting Ahsoka. We're getting Obi-Wan. We're getting a lot of these questions that I know me and Verge have talked about on the podcast before, because that was one of our biggest things with the sequel trilogy, was that there were so many questions that needed to be answered, and it didn't feel like they wanted to do that. They were just trying to get past the saga at that point, is what it felt like. And there were just so many questions and so many different directions that they could have gone with it. And it feels like...
And I think what opened it up was, again, series like the Clone Wars, introducing, all these different characters and stuff like that. It started to open people's minds to out of that mold of, it is these certain people. And like you said, there is a whole wider story going on out here. And I think they know that, and I think they're trying to do that. We wanted to see it. I know I did, and I think now they're in the prime driver's seat to now reset and start doing that,
right,
like Marvel does. Here's said story, here's said story, here's said story, here's said story. All of a sudden, conflict, they all come together, merge, fight, and spread back out. They have their own separate stories.
Yeah,
you know? Kind of how the Clone Wars was, in a sense. If you look at it, one episode to be here, Cook, I know you're a big fan of the Clone Wars series. Here's thoughts on some of that, the way the storytelling is going.
So definitely, you guys pretty much put the nail on that with how they're doing the Marvel route, where we're getting different perspectives on different characters and how it's all like slowly coming together. We've seen that with the Clone Wars, we've seen that with Rebels, and all that being tied into Mandalorian as well. Like the final season of the Clone Wars, where we get introduced first to the Bad Batch and that whole story.
Right.
Then we get to see Ahsoka's side of it, and learning more about like the different crime syndicates with like the Pikes, Crimson Dawn, Maul, and then seeing Bo-Katan and all of them. And then now it's coming together where it's like, hey, like now we're reuniting for this fight on Mandalore. leading right up to the events of episode 3.
Right.
And I really like what they're doing at, especially with when it came to Rebels, because for the longest time, nobody really liked Ahsoka Tano's character, right? When they first
Right.
introduced her, she was like this annoying kid, right?
Yeah.
Like type deal. Like, oh, that like very first time you see her, she's talking to Rex. She's like, oh, so I'm a Jedi Padawan and you're a captain, but that means I outrank you, don't I? And I'm sitting back
Yeah.
there, I'm just like,
Hmm.
what's this kid think she's doing?
Yeah.
And Rex pretty much said, he's like, my book experience is what counts. I'm like, that's the guy.
Yep, that's the guy.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I
I
mean,
think. Oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So I think like with Ahsoka's character, like you said, like it's one of these characters that really I think they saw the light. Like, oh heck, like we do not just have to talk about Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie, 3PO,
Yeah.
R2D2.
Like there's
we
different Jedi that we
'cause-
can actually talk about.
You can see how they invested in her
Yeah.
character in the Rebels, and then when they came back for that season finale, that series finale of the Clone Wars, I'm telling you, if you guys have not seen anything. Like that last 4-episode arc is probably some of the deepest freaking stuff
Yeah.
that you will see, because for a Star Wars fan, how they integrated it in sequence, what was going on in episode 3 was a beautiful
Yeah.
piece of storytelling.
Well,
It- Broke my heart when she went through Order 66.
Yeah.
Like, because that was, she literally just sat there and talked to Rex and had this conversation. Like, all she's known is war, this, that, the other thing. And then finally she had that inspiration that I might have a peaceful life from here on out. And then
Right.
all of a sudden, her one of her best friends, who has been there for her, even after she was treated wrongly, like, it just turns on her, not out of his, but it was just such powerful storytelling,
Right.
which gives me hope that they are changing the way they think about
Right.
things.
And I think.
And
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say another thing what I liked that they did with the Clone Wars, right? So when you first get introduced to the clones, you just know that they're these replicas of Jango Fett, right? And that's all. They just follow orders, do what they gotta
Right.
do. The series itself actually takes the time to humanize them, and you see that in a lot of episodes when you get introduced to these individual characters, and they're like, Hard Case, Fives, Echo, Tup, all these characters, they have their own unique personalities, which makes it harder when a lot of this stuff goes down.
Right.
And also to a point where, like, Verge was saying, when Rhett, gets the order for gets Order 66, he doesn't just commit to it like right away. Like, if you look closely enough, you actually see a tear going down his face, because he's trying to resist it and tell her, like, you need to look up the information on Fives. Like, that's where it's at, because this is exactly what he was talking about right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought they did really good work with that, and they tried to even bring that back more in Bad Batch, after a couple of episodes with the Ryloth arc.
Right. And that's what I love about Bad Batch, right? Like, you're finally starting to see kind of the separation of why the clones like kind of went away, right? And then you had
Mhm.
obviously obviously we never really saw anybody's face of stormtroopers in the original trilogy, but you finally see it in the sequel trilogy, right? Like, it's you realize at that point it's no longer clones, right? So we're kind of getting that story now with Bad Batch of to why I feel like everything kind of happened the way it happened, why the clones ended up kind of ceasing to be a thing. And so you're getting a lot of that. Again, the questions that needed to be answered a long time ago are finally getting answered. And me and Verge have said it, and we will always say it, that Filoni and Favreau are the best things to happen in the Star Wars universe
Hands down.
in a very, very long time. Like, them being at the helm is completely changing it. I mean, we see it. I mean, me and Verge sat here and we talked about it. We were like, we texted back and forth, like the episode of Mandalorian when Ahsoka finally comes back, we see her for the first time in a very, very long time. Obviously we have no idea of what happened in between, the rebels, and then in episodes 3, 4, and 5, and now she's back, and it's like, oh my god, and now we're getting her movie, and it's so great because they've grown this character, and they've done such a good job at kind of grabbing you because again, like Verge said, not a lot of people liked her, but that's how good the storytelling was. Even in an animated series, you know, a lot of people look at Clone Wars and Rebels and they're like, oh, well, this is for kids, and it's really not though. Like it's not.
Nope.
It's not. And in like, and a lot of people, you know, hated her character, and then you started to really, really like her in Rebels, and then it was just like, holy shit, like what happened? You know, and then you have obviously, if you follow that timeline, you have 3, 4, and 5, and now you have Mandalorian, and we finally see her again in Mandalorian. I haven't actually paid attention to where her movie's taking place in the timeline, but it's like, oh my god, we're getting somebody that's not part of, like, she's part of the Skywalker saga, obviously a major part of the early on Skywalker saga with Anakin, but now you're going to be able to hear a completely different story of her side of everything that happened, right? The time, you know, from the time that Rebels ended to where she's at in Mandalorian now, and everything. At least I'm assuming we haven't really gotten, you know, obviously our fix of what's the movie's actually going to be about, but I'm assuming that's what it's going to be about, right? Those gap in years that we didn't see her. Yeah. What happened after Order 66 for her in between episodes 3 and 5, you know, through episodes 3 and 5, and like all that up until obviously. I think it would be so cool.
So they're actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, from a fan standpoint, I think it'd be so cool if literally her movie ended and it ended at the scene in Mandalorian when she shows up to.
But they could definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
you don't know where they're gonna go. Was
right.
it an introduction that leads us to say, okay, because it's. And this was a question I had for Cook, and get your theory on it is that there's a lot of unknowns out there. There's a lot of story arcs that kind of did not get closed, and they're still open in some sense, especially when it comes to Rebels.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. I mean, the last we saw of her in Rebels is that the war ended, and you know, she was coming back for, you know, Sabine to go do something. Cook, what do you think out of everything that we know so far as open-ended, even with the Mandalorian and the second season finale and stuff like that? Because that is, in its own sense, we understand what will happen with Luke and stuff like that eventually, but that's still an open story arc. What do you think right now, like the biggest, like what is going on, who, like, the thing that you want answered the most out of all that's going on? What would be the one thing that you would want answered the most out of the next coming iterations of shows and movies?
So I would say, first off, I would say probably at the end of Rebels, right, Ahsoka and Sabine are going to go look for Ezra, because at the last we saw them, he was with Grand Admiral Thrawn, and they were getting dragged off somewhere by basically hyperspace space whales. Right. It's the only way to describe them.
Yeah.
They're essentially just
100%.
Space whales.
Yeah.
In regards to like what was going on between like the Clone Wars and like Rebels, so they're actually she does actually have a book about, like, there is a book that's out there of like what she was doing, which actually goes into how she got her white lightsabers.
Gotcha.
Which I don't know if y'all want me to go into that. It is kind of a like semi-book spoiler. Does anybody care about that?
It's your call, brother.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's concerned about the books. People in our chat don't read.
Well, basically, so there's an Inquisitor that's sent after her. She beats the Inquisitor, and she actually purifies his crystals of his lightsabers,
right? And
that's what actually creates that white glow.
Okay.
So I think in regards to like what's going on,
so
open-ended wise, we're gonna see her regroup with Sabine, and then go find Admiral Thrawn to find Ezra, because we don't know what happened to them except that they went into hyperspace and never came back.
Well, we know Thrawn's alive.
We know Thrawn's alive.
Which makes this thing, again, me and Sam talked multiple times, like they squandered opportunities like that in freaking The Rise of Skywalker,
Yeah.
because you had all these characters, and but again, they weren't set up for it. I can see it now. Like, if you did that, then you're killing off all of them. So
Right.
now it's very wide open still for them, because like I was
Yeah.
waiting for him to show up. Like, honestly, in the
Well, I think it
Mandalorian,
also
I'm
comes to when
waiting
he's
for
being
him.
cast as well, because you got to nail that just right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I was ready. I think me and Sam talked in Mandalorian, like the season 2 finale. Like, we kind of all knew it probably was
Yeah.
Luke, but we were just sitting there the whole time. Is that like
who's it
we
gonna
don't
be?
know. Like, who is it? Like, we're sitting there like, what the heck?
Well,
Like,
I think even me and Verge like contemplated it. Like, we both had the same thought when we first saw the X-wing, but you kind of knew when you saw the X-wing, but we kind of had a thought there for a second, like, could this be Ezra?
Mm-hmm.
But then then you see the actual X-wing and you're like, it's Luke. Like, it's 100%
Yeah.
Luke. It's his X-wing. Like, but yes, I mean, there's so much, and I think honestly that's the biggest question for me. Like, the biggest question for me right now being answered is I'm interested to see where the Mandalorian's going to go now, because obviously the first 2 seasons were very centered around Grogu and the Mandalorian's story together. And now, obviously, spoiler alert, but if you haven't watched it yet, then like, what are you doing with your life? But obviously at the end of season 2, we see Luke show up, kind of save the day, and then, take Grogu off to, basically grow him and train him so he can get his, his Force abilities back and stuff like that, like, and fully train him. So like, I mean, what are we going to see now? Like, what are you going to see out of the Mandalorian now? Like, where does that story arc go? Which I think is going to be, obviously, I haven't been disappointed by it yet. There's going to be something. And I just don't, I honestly, it could go in so many different directions because so many things happen towards the end of that season 2 that it could literally go in so many directions. Like, and you don't know where they're going to go, but they know where they're going to go. And that's the biggest thing with Favreau and Filoni. Like, we've seen it with the Marvel Universe. Like, Favreau, a lot of people don't realize it, but Favreau is actually, like, he's kind of the story arc technician of the Marvel Universe. Like, he has all of this, like, everything that is happening in the Marvel Universe and has happened and where it's going. Like, Favreau pretty much had all that planned. Like, when they started to put this whole thing together, like, he knew where he wanted to go with it. And it's the same with Filoni and Favreau now with the Star Wars universe. Like, I can't even imagine how far out these guys have planned everything, because eventually, and we've seen it with Marvel stuff with Favreau, like, both of these guys are so good at bringing all of these different shows and storylines and movies all together into one big plan. Obviously, we saw it with Infinity War and Endgame, what they were able to do. And now, now we're in this whole different phase of Marvel, and they're doing the same thing with Star Wars now. Like, I can't even imagine how far out they've planned, and everything they're doing right now eventually is going to intertwine with, like, Mandalorian will eventually somehow line up with episode 6.
Episode 7.
Episode 7, sorry.
It's all good.
We keep forgetting about 7, 8, 9 because
they didn't do enough storytelling. Like, it was just, it literally, and I know, again, me and Virgil talked about it before, so we won't really go into it, but it felt rushed, right? Like that was me and Virgil's full opinion. We enjoyed the movies for what they were, but it just felt rushed. And then we go back to something like Rogue One, and I know me and Verge really, and Cook, I don't know what your opinions are on Rogue One, but me and Verge really held high
It's
praise.
still one of my favorites.
It just was, and not a lot of people see it that way, and it's crazy to me that I think Rogue One's possibly one of the best Star Wars movies we have out there, let alone after the original trilogy.
It was outside the mold of what the typical, saga was, and I think that's why everybody, when Last Jedi came out, they got so bent out the shape of it, because it wasn't, you had 7, which was freaking cookie cutter 4, no pun intended, cookie. I wasn't, on that one. But like, literally 7 was like freaking verbatim what 4 was in a general overall story sense. And tell me I'm wrong, I'll ride against you in a second, because I just know it. Sam will too. Cookie, if you're on board. like it just give me something different. Like when I saw Rogue One, it was different. It was
fresh.
Dark. It was like, you know, it wasn't like Space Wizards and stuff like that, like doing stuff. You saw those integrations in there, but it was real for me. It was like a real like movie, which I wanted Star Wars to be. Like, make it where I can invest in touch in it, like, and that's what bothered me so much with freaking 7 and 9, especially 8. I'm sorry, I'm one of the ones that I like Last Jedi.
Well, I love. So my biggest thing, I think, with Rogue One and obviously Fallen Order, that I think they did such a good job with. Obviously, in Rogue One, you saw very little of it, but Fallen Order, if you've played Fallen Order, you see it like really well. Is how they opened up with Darth Vader, and they really set that precedence of how evil he actually is. Because you don't see it a lot, because the movies were just made so long ago. It was a different time. You don't see it with the original trilogy, and he's older by then. Like, he's not as, but like at the end of Rogue One,
books are really good too.
The books are really good too.
Right afterwards, like some of the ones that initially after he became Darth Vader, the struggles and how he went into like psychotic states. Oh, he was vicious, like vicious the way they depicted him.
And like I literally loved everything front and back of Rogue One. But if that to me was one of the most pivotal storytelling points I've seen in Star Wars in a very long time, because growing up as a Star Wars fan, you always hear about Darth Vader. He's kind of the face of evil for a lot of kids that get into Star Wars like early on and talk about it early on. But it's like Rogue One, just, oh my God, that ending scene when he's just walking through and just absolute destroys everyone, lightsabers that guy up on top in half like it's no big deal, you know. But like, and that was what I loved about Fallen Order so much, because that end of the game of Fallen Order, you just get this immense, incredible like feeling from the character and the way they wrote him in Fallen Order. Like, you see that evil, like everybody is terrified of him, and for a reason. And then he kind of unleashes hell in that game too. Like, it's just like you finally get it, right? Like scenes like that at the end of Fallen Order, and then in at the end of Rogue One, you finally see that terrifying, like what makes you, because like if you're starting off with Star Wars and you start off with the first 3 episodes, you're like, okay, like he's powerful in the Force, like cool, bro. Like, but like you start to see it obviously in Anakin at the end of episode 3 with Order 66 and everything. Like, you start to see that true power and that evil. But then obviously for the longest time we didn't have anything else. We had the books, but obviously not a lot of people got into the books like we did. But like, you kind of saw that, right? And then all of a sudden you have episode 4, 5, and 6, and you're like, okay, so what's the big deal? Like, he kind of, I mean,
he seems like he's like a jerk. That's it. But like, you don't get that
right, because in 4, 5, and 6, like it just kind of seems like he's kind of, you know, the Emperor's monkey, you know, like he's just kind of doing what he's told. So you don't get that true evil feeling from him, right? But
he's already done what he needed to do.
Exactly.
He's just more of a figurehead now because everything's working in a cog.
Yeah.
He's like a deity. You even hear it in 4 when they're sitting there saying like your old ways are like pretty much dead,
and that's
because
I was just gonna say, like, that's what I love about all of that stuff, like that we got out of like Clone Wars, you know, Rebels, Rogue One, Fallen Order. Like, you see all of the mayhem and the evilness that he actually caused, why he's so feared. And I think that's why I kind of actually love the end of Fallen Order more than I do Rogue One with him. Like, Rogue One was just absolutely incredible, because for us that was the first time we'd really seen that, right? Like, depicted in a live action movie. But with Fallen Order, man, like, the way they told that story and the way they depicted him in that video game was just, you felt it. Like, everybody trembled around this man, even people that were you know, above him, like the Emperor. And I think that's probably one of my favorite scenes from the prequel trilogy, is that end scene. And the Emperor's sitting there and he tells him that Yeah, Padme is dead, and he just loses it, and you see that fear in Palpatine's fucking face. Like, you see, like, holy fuck, did I do the right
like,
thing here?
I done goofed.
Yeah, like, did I do the right thing? And that was what I waited for the longest time after seeing those movies, to be represented again. Like that just like the fact that we all knew that the Emperor was, you know, from the original trilogy, was, you know, kind of the badass of the dark side, you know, like dude could do anything he wanted to, like he was so powerful. But that in that instance, for him to be afraid and kind of get that sense of fear even from the Emperor, you're just kind of like, oh fuck. Like, you know, like if there's anything you take away from the prequel trilogy, again, I know it's fucked up to say, but that whole Order 66, like all of that together with that ending scene when he's putting on the mask and everything officially, like that whole ending sequence to those movies, my favorite part of the prequel trilogy. And I think that's what separates it from the sequel trilogy. And honestly, I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, but I still think the prequel trilogy was much better than the sequel trilogy. Like, that's just because mainly based on that as well.
Well, here's the thing about the prequels, right? So when they first come out, you know, looking back, you don't really think too much of them initially. But then,
Right.
you know, like we were saying before, how the universe is expanded when we get Clone Wars, Bad Batch, all this stuff. And now it's like, hey, like taking all that information and looking back at the prequel movies, and it's like, whoa, like the stuff going on between episode 2 and 3, like all of this leading up to that, like that is a lot. Like, you know, and most people think it's like, oh well, like how could they just wipe out the Jedi like that? Like, weren't they supposed to be the good guys? And then, well, you see a bunch of Jedi in the Clone Wars, where it's like, you know, I mean, Pong Krell with the Umbara arc.
Right.
But you know, you see like a darker side of a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
And it's one, not saying like it was justified, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I can see why everyone's mindset here was kind of different, or not a lot of people were super shocked, with the exception of like, you know, the core group. And what you were saying about when it comes to Vader and Fallen Order, so I think what also helped enhance that scene was hearing the song like Anakin's Dark Deeds in the background. Like when that music starts and you hear the first breath, and I'm just like,
instant chills.
No, don't tell me this is happening right now. Not like, just that, but when you don't see a health bar, it's a bad day.
Like instant chills. Like I'm getting chills just you talking about it right now. Like it's incredible. Guys, if you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't played Fallen Order, fucking play it. Like absolutely, hands down, incredible game. One of the best Star Wars games I think ever. But yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think now that the universe is fully open, you get a lot more appreciation of everything that went into the prequel trilogy. I think they still made some mistakes with the prequel trilogy. I think again, some of like I felt like episodes 1 and 2 kind of felt like they were a little bit rushed. There was a lot of questions that needed to be answered still from those. But for the most part, I like, you go back and watch those now, and maybe it's just because we're older. Like, and I think that was the biggest thing with the prequel trilogy. I think it came out at like a really, really bad time, because I think you weren't in the right phase yet for not only the generation that grew up with the original trilogy. They were kind of in that phase of probably still college students and stuff like that. So they didn't really care about, you know, they didn't really feel it as much. And then obviously, like my generation, we were still pretty young, you know, so it was just like, okay, cool, it's pretty lights and cool lightsaber fights, like, okay. But like now going back and watching those though, I have a lot more appreciation for them now than I did when I saw them as a kid, like 100%. Like I think they're much better. And I grew up on the original trilogy. I was by no means I was a kid when I first saw the original trilogy, but I had appreciation for them. I thought they were incredible still. But again, like there's just so much happening now, and I'm so happy. Like so many things are being answered. It's drawing in more and more people because of the way they're doing the story now, and the different directions they're going. And I think it's gonna be a good thing. And obviously we've seen it with Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch now, and stuff like Rogue One and Mandalorian stuff, we've seen how much attention it's drawing from, you know, outside sources, and people that may have not been into the Star Wars universe at the time are finally coming in, because it's like, okay, this is something new, this is something different. It's much like, it's way better written than a lot of the older stuff. Like, it feels different, and it's giving people, no pun intended, a new hope in, you know, the direction that Star Wars is going. Yeah. So
We've had a couple puns tonight.
well, yeah,
No tangents though. We're
no
doing good on
tangent.
tangents.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're running short on time. If you guys have any questions for Cookie,
We do have some that came in, and I do have those. I have a couple
Okay.
too that
All
I
right.
think you
Good.
know we'll kind of start firing off a guest. Just, you know, little some interesting questions every once in a while. I was just thinking of some here. If you have any.
no, you take this one. I
Cook,
got
what's your favorite? Cook, what's your favorite type of candy?
Oh, here we go. What stuff? I'd have to go with probably the Jolly Rancher hard candies.
Jolly Rancher. Okay. All right. All right.
mine's
Chat, feel free to comment on Cookie's answers. You know,
Oh, boy.
feel free. Feel free. Next question: Pepsi or Coke?
Pepsi.
Dr. Pepper's the correct answer, by the way.
That's fair.
We didn't have that choice. We had Pepsi or Coke was the question. It
Dr.
wasn't
Pepper's
Dr. Pepper. was
Dr.
not
Pepper's
involved in
still
that.
the correct answer.
Bacon
I
or
mean,
sausage? I
What kind
will
of bacon?
accept an alternate
Sausage.
answer, being from New Jersey, but that's your call if you want to do that.
Pork roll.
Amen. Okay.
What was
Plus
it?
Pork
Pork
roll.
roll.
Oh yeah,
For y'all-
pork roll.
for
I'll
y'all.
allow it. I'll allow it. I'm not even from New Jersey. I know what that is. I'll allow it.
Thank you.
So here's one. This is a really philosophical one. Is breakfast acceptable for dinner?
Yes.
Brenner? Yeah.
For dinner, yeah, right.
Yeah, Brenner. There's an actual name
Exactly.
for it. It's called Brenner.
What's your go-to if you're gonna do breakfast for dinner or Brenner?
Last time I was home, we usually
I have
do,
one now.
fried eggs, ham steak, hash browns, and
Gotta have hash
if
browns.
we have it available, biscuits and gravy.
Mine wants to
Mm,
know what flavor of Jolly Rancher.
Blue raspberry.
Not bad. Not
That's
bad.
the most Texas response. The Dr. Pepper thing, yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. You have
okay,
one, Sam, and then I'll get into
yeah.
get into chat's questions here.
Waffles or pancakes?
I was gonna ask that one too.
Sorry.
No, because you're smarter.
It's a tricky one. Probably go with waffles.
Good man.
I agree.
Good man.
There was actually a place in Arizona called Crave, and they were well known for their waffle sandwiches.
Nice. That sounds delicious. I'm getting hungry now.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so we'll get off of that. Actually, so here's some of the questions that came about. Actually, first, let's give a couple people give you some shout outs tonight and some compliments. R-Dub said Cookie is gorgeous. He said you're absolutely gorgeous and beautiful earlier on. The other comment was Nick said Cookie has those South Jersey good looks. So, first question. Actually, this one's for Sam. Beth had a question for you. Can she pat the dog?
I mean, yeah. You can fly.
Okay,
You can fly to
there we
Texas
go.
and pat the dog anytime you want. Beth.
There you go.
They're
There you
here
go,
for
Beth.
it.
Beth then followed up with a question for Cookie. How do you, Cookie, find the time to be so fly?
Fly?
I'm just asking a question. That's just a question.
Honestly, I don't know. It kind of just it's kind of just Russian roulette. Some days it works, some days it doesn't, and if it happens, then I'm just like, all right, this is what I'm rolling with, and if it's not, then all right, try again later.
This one here is Sam. If you have any follow up on these, I'm just going to keep going through
No, go
them. If
ahead.
you have anything to follow
If
up on.
I have something, I'll
Okay, so this one here is from Nick the Luzi himself. This is a good one too, by
Okay.
the way. Go to Wawa hoagie order.
Oof.
Foot long, Italian, oregano, salt, and pepper, a little bit of oil, a little bit of a little bit of vinegar. If I'm feeling ambitious, I'll go with the the wheat roll, pepper jack cheese, tomatoes, pickles, onions, and if depending on how hungry I am, potentially a Wawa mac and cheese size.
I have a follow.
Family size.
Nick,
I have
acceptable.
I-
Acceptable. Go ahead, Sam.
I have a follow up to this one. I got your foot long Italian right here, bro.
You figured that would
anytime you want it.
come out. So
I'll bring the oil. I'll bring the oil and oregano.
Now,
Okay,
here's
let's
the
go.
next question to follow up on that real quick, Cook. Okay. During a certain time of year, is there a certain sub that supersedes all subs at Wawa?
Yes, that would be the gobbler, and we're actually coming up on gobbler season.
We are right on the cusp of a gobbler season. Question for Cookie. What was the toughest thing you had to do in the Air Force?
Toughest thing, that was probably weapons director school. So it was about a 6-month course in Arizona. Ended up being a little longer for me because I was having a little trouble with some of the later missions with lives. Lots of definitions to learn, lots of different call outs to make. I'm normally kind of like what Sam was saying earlier, like I'm normally a more quiet person to begin with. So you take a quiet person, put him in a spot where he has to do a lot of talking.
Yeah.
A little bit different.
A little bit different.
Especially when it's like, okay, I'm no longer working with, simulated tracks. I'm working with an actual pilot in the seat right now. So that was probably the hardest 6 months. A lot of long nights, but I'm glad I made it through. And there are sometimes I wish I can go back and do it again. And sometimes I'm like, what am I thinking?
This is from our boss, Mr. Spire Tweak himself. Would you rather be sticky all over or itchy all over for the rest of your life?
But to choose between those two, probably sticky because, after deployment, where it was pretty much humid most of the time, sticky is kind of just the norm. So I can get you. It's no different than just walking out in humidity.
That's fair.
Could not imagine it being itchy all your life. I mean, as a very high allergy sufferer, I can.
I don't like. I
relate. I think I am itchy all over all the time.
Yeah, I can't fall. I can't
so.
fall asleep if I'm itchy. So definitely sticky for me.
Yeah. Well, you like sticky stuff anyway. So
Yeah.
anyway, this one is actually for all three of us, and this is actually when mine just posted this just a little while ago. And I think it could be a good topic for another night. But how do we deal with stress? What do we do to decompress? And aside from gaming, if that applies to that, maybe some real brief, and we can definitely. This might be a good topic to talk about in the future, like stress management and all.
Cookie, you start.
Cook, you're the guest. Go ahead.
Oh, all right. So for me, when I was back in Jersey a lot, definitely just going out for a drive, listening to some music, finding a quiet place like out by the creek or the woods and just relaxing, maybe have a good book with me and just try to not think about anything else, just trying to live in the moment there. That's what helped me a lot with my dad being in and out of the hospital most of the year. So, and there's not a lot of places to just go out and drive around here. So I just try to read or just sit out on a porch with a good book and just relax. That's what works for me, at least.
Music. Reading's a close second. Music's a huge one for me. Certain types of music and stuff like that. Depends on what I'm messing with and stuff. So music for me. Laying down on the couch and just listen.
I like that.
Sam?
A lot of drugs. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not surprising there.
No, honestly, yeah. Honestly, I don't know. Like sometimes it's a little bit harder for me than anything. Music is a huge thing. Like listening, like I have a playlist literally called like Get Your Head Straight. And it's just a lot of songs from over my life. Like it's got, I think, like 400 songs on it. And it's, I want to judge you. a lot of hard drugs. No, music for sure. Other than music though, man, I was being outside, honestly. Like, I think that's when I get my most stressed is because I'm, working constantly or, just being inside too much. So getting outside, going for a walk with the dogs or something. You know, stuff like that. You know, I'm pretty basic when it comes to stress relief, but I would say music is kind of probably the bigger thing there for me. Like music kind of just, it literally, like my focus is better when I'm listening to music. Like my girlfriend walks in my office all the time and gives me shit when I'm because I'm working from home right now because of COVID still. And like I'm just blasting music, but I'm like, I'll get my most work done at that point. And she gives me shit. She's like, how do you concentrate like that? And I'm like, I don't know. It just literally shuts everything off. Like if it's a good song, like I'm zoned in. I'm good to go. Like, so I would say that. And then I'm having like movie marathons, I would say too. Like even if it's a movie I've seen like 30 fucking times, like I can throw that on and know like that it's just, I'm gonna enjoy it still. I'm gonna relax and just kick back and, you know, enjoy a good movie.
Last question from the Supermod and our good friend and moderator Tabasco here. What is your favorite Star Wars character? Who is your favorite Star Wars character?
That is a tough one.
That's a very tough question.
That's a tough one. I'd honestly have to go with R2D2 on that one.
I think everybody
I
loves
like the
R2D2.
answer.
Yeah, I do too.
But I would also like to point out that a lot of Star Wars' issues, like the bad guys' issues, could have probably been avoided without the little console for the astromech to work on. They probably would have solved so many issues if R2 can't do his thing.
So many.
Absolutely. So.
Urge?
Oh, that was for Cookie, I think.
Wow.
You want to know mine?
Yeah.
You want to know mine?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think Jyn Erso is a very intriguing character.
I like that.
With where she was and like she circle full back around. Her and her dad had that relationship and build that he knew what he was doing was bad, and he knew his daughter was going to be the catalyst to find the answers that he could not like outright just give without being dead in that sense. And he knew that, and she was, she was a rebel. Like when you look at it, she was a rebellious force, and even just against the rebellion people, like she rebelled against everything. Like in that sense, but if it wasn't for her character and her spirit and her drive, then none of what would have transpired would have happened.
I like that.
Because that thing would have just destroyed everybody if they couldn't find a way to take it down. Everybody knows that. So.
I like that.
You?
Honestly, I don't think I've ever thought about this. But I'd probably, and I know a lot of people will give me shit for this, but I think Darth Vader. I really do. Like, I think he's just such a pinnacle character. I love his story. The constant struggle between light and dark. I think that hits home with a lot of us. And so to just see that constant struggle within him, but him be able to find his way back at the end of it a little bit, like I think that's a big life lesson, right? Like no matter how, it's kind of, and I think George Lucas even quoted this one time. Like I think his mention on that and why he wrote it that way was because it kind of depicted that constant battle that we're having within ourselves, that no matter how dark it gets at times, that there's always light at the end of the tunnel type thing, right? Like that's the story arc of Darth Vader. Like you literally
always be redeemed.
You literally have one of the most evil characters ever written that eventually found his way back because he knew what was right and what was wrong at the end of the day. So for me, that's what makes him, I think, my favorite character. So, but yeah, there you go, guys. I think that's the last question, right?
That is the last question that I had out of everybody. If you had anything else, or
no, I got nothing.
That is everybody's questions.
I love it.
From
it.
chat. That's a really good idea. Honestly, I took note of that. That may be something that we talk a little bit more in depth about, because that is a very, very good topic. If you'd like to hear it. And again, guys, if you'd like to hear us have any like specific topics you want to talk about, like just like about life and stuff like that, that will keep you like that'll pique interest in you, let us know. like you know where
We're here.
we're at, or the Twitter and stuff like that, just
Yeah.
let us know.
Let us know. Yeah, follow us
We
on
love
Twitter if you don't
talking.
follow us on Twitter yet, and you guys can tell us what you want to talk about or anything like that. But other than that, guys, I think that's going to be the end of the podcast. We had a great time. Cookie, thank you so much for coming on, brother. I had a great
Yes, thank
time.
you,
Yeah,
Cookie.
no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I had a lot of fun getting deeper into your story and stuff, and learning a lot about you. Other than that, guys, look, it's Monday. You got through Monday. That's the most important day to get through, because everybody,
yeah.
because as Garfield always said, everybody hates Mondays. So you got through Monday. Here we are. Tomorrow's Tuesday. It's a new day. Get out there, kick some ass this week. Verge, you're not doing shit this week, so I don't really.
I'm gonna
whatever.
kick ass at doing nothing.
Yeah, kick ass at doing nothing, brother. That's the most important thing about a staycation is trying to do as nothing as possible, because it's
We're gonna
hard.
get out and do. We're gonna get out and do some things.
Yeah,
But again, like,
But enjoy
it's
your
just,
time.
It's very important to take time for yourself, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
don't ever let a
Just
job
is.
tell you can't take time off.
Yes, because I made the mistake. I've only taken 2 days off this year so far, and like, make sure you take the time for yourself. You deserve it.
Again,
Trust me.
that could lead into that topic
Trust.
that my
Yes.
brought up. Anyways, guys, we appreciate you guys. Cookie, again, love you, brother. Glad we had you on. We enjoy talking to you, guys. Again, thank you for all the love tonight. We had a lot of people in here. Again, everybody's chatting, having a good time. It makes this job so much easier, even though it's a podcast. We love you guys. So we will see you guys again next Monday, same time as always, unless obviously we have an emergency or something. Again, bear with us if something like that happens. But for certain, we should be back next Monday. I got no exiting notes. Y'all have as usual. Y'all have a good morning, good afternoon, or good night. We will see you guys next Monday.
See you, everybody. Thank you.
Peace.